Somewhere in your head, right now, there is a sentence running on a loop that has cost you more money than any bad investment you have ever made. You did not choose it. Somebody handed it to you. A parent counting coins at a kitchen table, a teacher who called ambition unrealistic, a childhood where wanting more felt like betrayal. And you have been repeating it ever since, quietly, like a prayer to stay small. You tell yourself you are just not a numbers person. You tell yourself money isn't everything. You tell yourself you are being realistic. None of that is true. That is not realism. That is a script. And scripts can be rewritten. Machiavelli wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are. You perform confidence at work. You post the vacation photo. You laugh at the birthday dinner and split the bill you cannot afford. But alone, at night, a different voice runs the show. The one that says you will never really have it. So why try? That voice is not your personality. It is a program. And tonight, you are going to see it clearly enough to shut it off. By the end of this video, you will be able to name the exact sentence keeping you poor, the one you say so often you no longer hear it. You will understand why your brain protects that sentence like a bodyguard, and you will walk away with the method to kill it for good. But first, I need to warn you about something. There is one sentence the wealthy have trained themselves to never say out loud. Not because it is some secret formula, but because saying it rewires you into someone who simply cannot stay poor. We will get to it. You are not ready for it yet. Phase 1. The sentence that built your cage. Every person who stays poor their whole life can point to a sentence. Not a circumstance. A sentence. We don't have money for that. People like us don't get lucky. Rich people are greedy anyway. You heard one of these before you were old enough to spell the word budget, and your brain did what brains do with early information. It filed it as fact, not opinion, not a belief you chose, a law of physics you never questioned. Here's what the broke never see. That sentence was never about money. It was about safety. A child who hears, "We can't afford that," learns a survival lesson. Wanting things leads to disappointment, so stop wanting. That lesson kept a scared kid calm at 7 years old. It is bankrupting a grown adult at 35. The wolf does not carry his mother's fear into the hunt. You are still carrying yours into every salary negotiation you have ever lost before you opened your mouth. You did not fail to get rich. You were trained to flinch before you tried. Phase 2. The physics of a poor thought. This is not about vibes. This is not about manifesting. This is not a mood. This is math. And the math is brutal. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Translate that into currency, your net worth becomes dyed with the color of your self-talk. One decision at a time, for decades. Here is the mechanism. A negative self-talk loop does not cost you money in one dramatic moment. It costs you in 1,000 tiny withdrawals. The raise you didn't ask for. The investment you talked yourself out of at 11 p.m. The business idea you buried because people like you don't do that. Each withdrawal looks small. Compounded over 20 years, the gap between the person who asks and the person who flinches is not a small gap. It is the entire distance between the owner and the owned. And This is where most people bleed out, quietly, for decades, never once seeing the sentence that is doing it to them. Phase 3. The performance of poverty. Here's the part they never teach you. Negative thinking is not just private, it is social currency. Somewhere in your life there is a group, friends, family, co-workers, who bonded with you over shared complaints about money. None of us can afford a house anymore. The economy is rigged. People like us just don't get the breaks. Every time you agree, you buy belonging. Every time you succeed quietly instead, you risk the group. Watch the co-worker who has worked there 20 years and owns nothing. He is not lazy. He is loyal to an arrangement the whole table protects together. The day he buys real estate, invests seriously, or takes a risk that pays off, he threatens the arrangement. So a part of him sabotages the win before it happens, because losing money hurts less than losing the group. You are not just protecting a belief, you are protecting a seat at a table full of people who need you to stay poor with them. Phase 4. The silence of the owner. Now watch how the game actually works for the other side. Machiavelli wrote that a wise prince relies on what is in his own control. The owner cannot control the market, the economy, or what the table of complainers says about him behind his back. He can control one thing completely: what he tells himself, and when he lets anyone else hear it. The owner has doubt. Everyone has doubt. The difference is location. The broke process doubt out loud, at the table, for validation. The owner processes doubt alone, in silence, and only speaks once the decision is already made. This is not confidence. This is discipline, dressed as confidence. While you were narrating your fear to the group chat, he was signing the contract. This is not about hiding your feelings. This is not about faking certainty. This is not about ego. This is about understanding that every sentence you say out loud about money either recruits you allies or costs you leverage. And the owner never spends leverage on comfort. Comment, "I hear the sentence" right now if you just caught yourself saying one of these out loud in the last 30 days. I want to see who is actually paying attention. Phase 5. The generational script. Read this twice. The sentence you inherited did not start with you. And if you do nothing, it will not end with you either. Think of the parent who worked 40 years, narrating, "We can't afford that," at every dinner table, every birthday, every Christmas, and arrived at retirement with nothing. Not because the economy collapsed, not because of one catastrophic year, because the sentence itself became the ceiling, repeated for 4 decades until it hardened into destiny, and then handed down to you at the same dinner table, in the same tone, like a family heirloom nobody wanted. You are not just deciding your own bank account right now. You are deciding what your children will believe is possible the first time they ask for something, and you answer with the sentence, or with something new. Subscribe now if you are done being handed a script you never chose to read. Consider it your entry fee into paying attention for what comes next, because this is the part most people are too comfortable to hear. Phase 6. The rewrite. Now you are ready for the sentence I promised you at the beginning, the one the wealthy have trained themselves to never say out loud, because saying it plainly would embarrass the people still performing scarcity around them. Here it is. I am allowed to want more, and I do not owe anyone an apology for getting it. That is the whole rewrite. Not a productivity hack, not a morning routine. One sentence, replacing another, said until it is true. Stay with me. because here is the mechanism. Every time the old sentence surfaces, "We can't afford that. People like us don't get lucky. I'm just not good with money." You do not argue with it. You do not debate a program. You replace it immediately, out loud if you have to, with the one true sentence. I am allowed to want more. Say it in the meeting you almost skipped. Say it before the negotiation you almost avoided. Say it before the investment you almost talked yourself out of. The brain does not release the old script gently. It has to be overwritten, one repetition at a time, the exact same way it was installed. This is not motivation. This is not a mantra you say once and forget. This is maintenance. The same discipline the owner uses in silence, now aimed at the one voice that has been costing you money since before you could spell the word. Picture the version of you who wins this. Calm, quiet, not performing wealth, not narrating struggle, just moving, while the people at the old table are still telling the same story they told 20 years ago. That version of you does not need to convince anyone. That version of you already knows. Here is the price, and I will not pretend it is small. You will lose some comfort. The complaining table does not want a graduate. Family dinners get quieter when you stop agreeing that it's impossible. Friends notice when you stop performing struggle to match theirs. You will feel, for a while, like a traitor to a group that only ever wanted you to stay exactly where you were. That isolation is not a side effect. It is the tax. Pay it. The broke version of you has to die today. The one who apologized for wanting more, who flinched before the ask, who inherited a sentence and called it personality. Kill it, now, cleanly, while you still remember every excuse it used to make. There is more to this than one sentence, more than what fits in 25 minutes. The specific method for auditing every phrase you use about money for 30 days straight. The exact triggers that bring the old script back at 2 a.m. And that is too sharp to hand out in a single free video. But you have what you need to start tonight. Comment, "I am allowed to want more," if you are done apologizing for wanting it. I want to see who is actually serious and who is just going back to the table to complain some more. Subscribe if you are ready to be initiated into the second group. The sentence is yours now. Use it before someone else's sentence uses you.